everybody. Excuse me. I'm an addict. My name is Richard. Real grateful to be at a Narcotics Anonymous meeting right now at this particular moment. I need to say that Narcotics Anonymous was the last thing I tried and the only thing that ever worked for me. So just for that reason, I'm going to stay clean today. The only thing that ever worked for me. I was reading something in the Just for the Day books, how it talks about how Narcotics Anonymous is something like the last house on the block. You know, like the last house on the block. When all them houses that I was running in and out of, using, I get to the last house, and it's Narcotics Anonymous. And Narcotics Anonymous opened the door and said, welcome, right? Because I remember when I was running from crack house to crack house, dope house to dope house, when I was standing in front of the liquor store, bumming up some change to get a bottle of wine. I didn't give no love, and I didn't get no love. I didn't give no respect, and I didn't get no respect. But when I got to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, I said when I got to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, my life got just a little bit better. And that's just the way it is, because you all told me so. I'm going to talk a little bit about the solution being the steps, a little bit about it. But when I got here, I was told by my sponsor to get the information for yourself. Don't believe everything you hear around here. Get the information for yourself. Identify yourself. He told me to identify myself in the literature. Right? And I'm so grateful that I gotta say that if I had 1,000 tongues, I could not thank Narcotics Anonymous enough for what it has given to me. I'm talking about the steps, the traditions, the concepts, a home group, a sponsor, and I could go on and on and on. Right? But if I had 10,000 tongues, imagine that. Or even 20,000 tongues. I could not thank God enough for his grace and his mercy. Because it's only because of God's grace and his mercy that I made it to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. It ain't nothing I did. There's something in the second step talks about we seek our destruction. Seek. Seek. In other words, I went looking for it. We seek our destruction. A bag at a time, a pill at a time, or a drink at a time. Until what? We die. What I found out on July 6, 2004 is trying to die, committing suicide on a time payment plan. Right? It took me over 30-something years to realize that getting high was trying to kill me. And if I kept doing it, it was eventually going to have its own way with me. So I don't know, man. Something about coming to believe. Something about the second step, man. But none of these steps actually worked for me until I was able to surrender. Like surrender is the first key of life for me. Surrender in the first step talks about not having to fight anymore. If you're new to the program, I need to share with you that the fight is fixed. It's a fixed fight. You're going to lose every time, Richard. Every time. So I realized, man, that I didn't want to get high no more. And I came to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. I got a sponsor. I got a home group. And I was really on fire. Like, after all those years of using, man. Like, let me just share a little bit of my story first. Just a little bit. Coming from a good family, a good family, raised right, yes, sir, no, ma'am, yes, ma'am. You know, if I called one of my dad's friends out of his name, I called him Joe because my dad called him Joe. My dad kicked my ass for that. He said, that's Mr. Brown. Now, that was 60 years ago. So when I got older and I heard people start saying Mr. Richard or Mr. Joe, I was like, who does that? I didn't understand it because I wasn't raised like that. So I was raised in a good family. I was raised in a foster family. My mom had 10 children. My mom and dad had 10 children they could not take care of, right? So they sent us all to juvenile court. Juvenile court fostered us out to different families, right? So, was raised by a good family with two parents, mom and the dad. There were already a brother there and a couple of sisters, you know. So I lived that life for a while till I was about 13. I remember my parents were so strict that at first we were allowed to go out on the porch. You ever hear somebody say, oh, you just got off the porch? That was my story. You know, hey, that was my story. You can go to the porch. So first we was allowed to go to the porch. Go to the porch, right? Mommy sat on the porch and she watched us, right? I don't know what your story is. I'm not telling yours. I'm telling mine, right? You can sit on the porch, right? Street lights come on, come in the house, all that. We went to bed at 6 o'clock at night. I hated it, but that's what Mommy said do. So I got a little bit older, and we were allowed down on the steps, right? Now we thought we was getting ready to get to freedom if we could get to that motherfucking sidewalk. That was like, oh shit, it's on, right? So we got to the steps and we sat there, you know. And if you moved, you had to go home in the house and go to bed because she said, "Don't move." She meant that shit. So okay, we sat there and we you know, we didn't move. But if we moved, you had to go to bed. Okay. A few years later, I'm able to go down on the sidewalk, but you couldn't go past Mr. Brown's house or Mrs. Smith's. So I'm talking about always being guarded and checked. Like, kept an eye. I always thought that somebody was always watching me. So I didn't do nothing bad. Because I always thought somebody was watching me. Look, if you go up to the store and you do something wrong, on your way home, you get your ass whooped by your neighbor. You know, that by the time you get home, they called and you say, Mom said, did you do such and such and such? I said, no, I didn't do that. She said, you're lying because Miss such and such told me you did. So I'm talking about being guarded. I was a guarded child. So I think I turned 13 years old and my mom, there was a party down the street. And I asked my mom, can I go to the party? You know, never been to a party. So she said, yeah, you can go to the party, but be home at a certain hour, right? So this was in 1969. So I went to a party in 1969. I didn't leave that motherfucking party until July the 5th, 2004. Now that's my story. I don't know what your story is, but that's my story. You could do the math on that if you want to, right? That's my story. So I don't have to tell about all the stuff I did. I did a lot of crazy stuff, man. You know, I had a wife, and every time we had a child, I say, honey, I'm going to stop using because we got a daughter now. So that didn't work. So we had another baby. I said, oh, shit, this is the one. So I'm going to stop after my son. This is my son. I named him after me. I'm going to stop using. Now I got a son now I got to protect. I got to raise. Well, look, that didn't work neither. I kept using. So I had another baby, a girl. And I said, honey, you know what? I know I got to go to rehab or something. I'm not getting high no more. I got 3 kids here. And I went to rehab. I got out and I used again. Still married, had another child. I said, fuck it. I ain't going to lie to myself no more. I'm going to get high until I fucking die. That was what I told me at that point. Because there's no sense of continuing thinking I'm going to stop when I ain't ready to stop. You know. So one more time, I went to rehab again. I got out. And I went to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting because I heard him say, go to a meeting, you know, get a sponsor, get a home group, go to a meeting. I heard that shit. right? I was there 30 days. I heard it every fucking day I was up there, right? So I finally said, well, let me do something, but let me go get high first. Let me go use first, then I'll go. And I did just that. I went and I got high. No, let me check. I didn't get high. I used. See, I'm in rehab 30 days, and I'm freaking like, wait a minute. I just shot a bag of dope, and I don't even feel this shit. So I'm not claiming that as using. So I'm going to go to a meeting anyway, and to pick up a 30-day key tag. And that's what I did. See, I'm talking about, and I heard my man mention about the illusion. Living in an illusion, man. Right? So I picked up a 30-day key tag, man. I didn't care. Shit, I got high. No, I used. I didn't get high. I told myself. So I did that for 30 days. I did it again in 60 days. I used. Picked up a 60-day key tag. 90 days. I picked up a 90-day key tag. Now, I know I ain't the only one in this room that ever done that shit. I didn't know it then. I thought I was doing something real clever. Y'all ain't never seen me before. Y'all didn't know my moves. So look, I'm using, you don't know, you're clean, I'm clean too. But something happened, right? I kept going to meetings. I kept hearing different things, right? I kept going to meetings. I kept hearing different things. I got a sponsor. I got 6 home groups. So like I'm doing some stuff not knowing that it's penetrating my spirit, right? So on July 5th, 2004, I used again. And on July 4th, I used. I called my sponsor on July 5th. I said, man, look, I used yesterday. I said, man, hey, I used yesterday, so what do you think I should do about it? He said, well, Richard, I suggest that you go to a meeting and pick up a 24-hour key tag. I was like, man, you got to be fucking kidding me. I got 6 months clean. I'm just telling my story. I'm telling the truth. I'm coming up on 6 months, man. So all that day, on July 5th, all that day, I was like, it was bothering me a little bit. Because it was just, fucking with me. Let me be honest. And so I'll go to the meeting, 7 o'clock, and, we got a clean time thing. We do love line and all that good shit, right? So anybody celebrating, they already gave out the 1-day key tag, so I'm still sitting down, like, 6 months, yeah. So they came up with anybody celebrating 6 months, and here I come, running. Hugging people, They saying congratulations and all that shit, and I'm like, oh, boy. So it didn't feel good that particular time. That's the only time I ever picked up a key tag, and it just didn't feel right. So I went and I sat my ass down, and someone got up to the podium and started sharing about this story, and they said, well, my daughter, she's getting on my nerves and blah, blah, blah. Then she said, well, let me get honest. Just like I'm looking at you, I thought she was looking at me. Just like that. And I thought I had been exposed. I'm talking about the disease in my brain's playing with me now, so I get the fuck up out that meeting. I said, man, I got to get the fuck out of here. Shit, I'm busted anyway. I might as well go use. That's my story. I'm busted. Fuck it, I'm going to use. So I went up on the set, and I seen my boy up there, and I said, man, what you getting ready to do? He said, I'm getting ready to, get me one. So I said, man, get in the car. So we got in the car, man. We went to see these 2 young boys. They had them little stamp bags. I don't know if y'all hip to them. They little cellophane stamp bag. They call them stamp bags, right? And what was stamped on this bag was sudden death. And I was like, oh, wow, sudden death. This is going to be some good shit. Who the fuck thinks like that other than an addict? Like, when is death a good idea on any motherfucking thing? Right? Sudden death. So we ride around the corner, man. We don't even go to the gallery. We just ride around the corner, man, and pull over. We just, pow. Man, I felt this warm sensation, man, off of 1 bag of dope. Coming from the bottom of my feet, man. Coming up my body, and it was coming fast, man. And I remember feeling it, and I remember going back into this nod. And then I remember my brain was going back to high school. And then it went like I'm in grade school. And I'm like, oh, God, is this the way I'm going to die? And then I began to get shook. Now, I remember shaking, and I thought that when I came to, I said to the guy, thanks for shaking me. He said, man, I didn't shake you. So I had to make a decision in that moment, whether to spend the rest of my money in my pocket on getting high, like I always did. I overdosed in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and here it is in the 2000s, and another near-fatal overdose. For the first time, what's the literature say? For the first time in man's entire history, I went home. I went home, man. I went home, and I sat on my couch, and my daughter was sitting there. She was probably 9 years old at the time. And I said, Daddy, I said, honey, your daddy fucked up again. Just like that. And she said, that's okay, Daddy. Just start over again. Wow. Out of the mouth of babes, right? So I let the drug run its course. 24 hours later, I found myself in a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. And I picked up a 24-hour key tag. That was on July 6, 2004. And I have not had a desire to use drugs since that day. Now, who does that? My story is overdose, go get some more. You did it wrong. You should have put some coke with it. Yeah, you did it wrong, man. Put some coke with it. Put more coke on it. That way the dope won't overpower. You know, I'm like, believing this shit for years, you know. And then instead of taking my tired ass home. So I went home, man, and I went to a meeting the next day, man, and I tell you, I have never felt so good about anything. You know, I'm talking about damn near 40 years of active drug addiction, man. So if you're new to the program, man, you don't have to wait that long. You don't have to wait for a near-fatal overdose, a jail sentence. You can start recovering today. Because tomorrow ain't promised to nobody. I'm going to share this story real quick, man. I'm just talking about how, man, I was just beat down to the end. You know, I had nowhere else to go. I had hurt my family members and all, man, and it was just me. So I was walking down the street one day, and I heard this voice. And the voice said, follow me. And I was like, the fuck? So I didn't have nothing to lose at this point. Nothing to lose. I was at the bitter ends. So the voice said again, follow me. Take the steps. So I followed the voice. And I learned on the first step, I learned surrender. On the second step, I learned hope. Third step, I learned acceptance. Fourth step, I learned about honesty. Fifth step, I learned about faith. Sixth step, I learned about tolerance. I learned about patience, humility, unconditional love, sharing, and caring. So I got to the top of the steps, and I said to the voice, well, what would you have me do now? And the voice quietly said, now go back down them steps and help somebody. So as I turned away from the voice, I looked back at the voice and I said, well, who should I say sent me? And the voice quietly said, tell them I am. So I went back down the steps, planted my feet on the road of recovery. I turned right into a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, sat down up front, and when the chairperson said, is there anyone here for the first time that would like to stand and introduce themselves? I stood up and said, I am an addict, and my name is Richard. So if you're new to the program of Narcotics Anonymous, I'd like to say welcome. If someone in here is renewed to the program of Narcotics Anonymous, I'd like to say welcome. And if there's anyone in here who's been in Narcotics Anonymous a long time, I'd like to say welcome. My story is real short and sweet. I went to rehab. I was tired and I was weak. But I went there determined to find out who was responsible for my losing streak. And what I found out is I was always looking around on the outside, and the truth was I was the one. So I came into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, and I got caught up in all these analyses and had me stuck in a kind of a paralysis because I was still living inside of a drug-infested self. I kept hanging with those who knew didn't tell, and those who told didn't know. And I could continue to feel sorry for myself. It brought me disappointment and it taught me to fear it. Because deep inside, I was disconnected from the spirit. One thing for certain, and two things for sure. There ain't no way overnight to completely change your life around. And this is not the conversation of an addict who sometimes doesn't fall back down. But newcomer, no matter how many times you put yourself on trial with the days and the weeks of self-denial. A relapser, no matter how many times you tried to make it and you found out that right then you weren't going to make it. You just heard some of the stories of a loser who has found strength and success. I would like to encourage each and every one of you all to stay in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. Get a sponsor and don't take no dope. Get a home group and don't take no dope. Go to meetings regularly. Why? Because those who attend meetings regularly, what? Stay clean. And don't take no dope. Get a God of your own understanding. And don't take no dope. And you too will come to believe that you can leave all your past mistakes behind the day you really make up your mind. Thank you. All right.